In the dead of night, John McCain walks onto the Senate floor. He raises his arm and turns his thumb down. Just like that, the GOP's biggest promise, repealing Obamacare, is dead. That one moment, that thumbs down, summed up McCain's entire relationship with the GOP base. He was always at war with them, and it started long before Donald Trump came along.
We're scared of an Obama presidency.
I have to tell you, he is a decent person and a person that you do not have to be scared as President of the United States. Now,
If you've never understood why so many Republicans disliked John McCain, this is the full story. The first real red flag with John McCain didn't come from ideology, it came from judgment. In the late 1980s, he was swept up in something called the Keating Five scandal. McCain was one of 5 senators who intervened with regulators on behalf of a crooked savings and loan executive named Charles Keating. Keating had funneled over $100,000 into McCain's campaigns and flown him on luxury vacations. When Keating's S&L collapsed in 1989, taxpayers were left holding the bag for $3.4 billion in losses. Thousands of elderly investors saw their life savings wiped out.
And it's gone.
McCain was hauled before the Senate Ethics Committee and accused of corruption. He was ultimately spared by his colleagues, but they declared he showed poor judgment. McCain also waited 3 years to pay back the luxury trips, only doing so once the scandal broke. He called it an oversight, but people saw right through it. The whole episode put an early chink in McCain's image, and voters took note. Fast forward to the early 2000s, a Republican is back in the White House, George W. Bush, pushing to cut taxes. In 2001, McCain is one of only 2 Republican senators to vote against President Bush's major tax cut. Invoking his inner Democrat, McCain said, "So many of the benefits go to the most fortunate among us at the expense of middle-class Americans." He does it again in 2003, opposing a second round of tax cuts. Years later, McCain still defended his vote. When asked if opposing the Bush tax cuts was a mistake, he said,
"Of course not."
Then in 2006, he flipped and voted to extend the same tax cuts he once blasted. And by 2008, while running for president, he was suddenly claiming he supported the tax cuts all along.
On tax cuts, you were on this program back in 2003, and I asked you this: do you believe the president, because of the war, should be asking Americans for more sacrifice, should not hold off any future tax cuts, should hold off any future tax cuts? We have a sense of the cost of the war and state economy. Yes, I do. You came back the next year. I again asked you about opposing the Bush tax cuts, and this is what you said.
I voted against the tax cuts because of the disproportionate amount that went to the wealthiest Americans. I would clearly support not extending those tax cuts in order to help address the deficit.
Disproportionate to the wealthiest Americans, and you wouldn't extend them because it would hurt the deficit. You voted to extend them.
I voted to extend them because it would have the effect of having a tax increase. But I support tax cuts, and I have never supported, I do not support tax increases, and the effect of not making them permanent would have the effect of a tax increase.
McCain further alienated the GOP base by teaming up with a Democrat on a sweeping campaign finance law. In 2002, he partnered with liberal Senator Russ Feingold to pass the McCain-Feingold Act. The law clamped down on political fundraising and shut down issue ads right before elections. Many argued that it trampled on free speech and tried to shut down grassroots influence. Even the ACLU called it a recipe for political repression. The law was so flawed that the Supreme Court gutted much of it in 2010 Citizens United decision. McCain was furious that his law was overturned, calling the court's reasoning
misguided, naive, uninformed, egregious.
McCain-Feingold became a symbol of establishment meddling, another moment where McCain sided with Democrats to undercut his own party. Immigration was the next point of contention. In 2005, McCain joined forces with liberal Senator Ted Kennedy to push an immigration bill that would have legalized roughly 10 million undocumented immigrants. McCain and his cheerleaders in the media called it
a comprehensive approach to immigration reform.
McCain's immigration push dragged on for 2 years, and the backlash only grew. By 2007, when McCain was running for president, his support among GOP voters had collapsed. Because of this immigration bill, the once front-running presidential campaign fell to near zero in the polls. He was forced to abandon the McCain-Kennedy bill, which died under furious grassroots pressure. But against all odds, McCain clawed his way back and captured the GOP nomination anyways. Even as the Republican nominee, John McCain carried a reputation as a RINO who often sided with Democrats. McCain would try to repair relations with conservatives by making a bold VP pick, Sarah Palin, the young Alaska governor who was seen as a rising star of the right. Palin energized rally crowds and gave McCain a much-needed jolt of enthusiasm. But as the media launched a vicious onslaught against Palin, many people felt McCain had left her out to dry. Obama's campaign dispatched a mini-army of opposition researchers to Alaska to dig up dirt on Palin. The left and the press savaged her relentlessly, and naturally people expected McCain to defend his running mate. Instead, his campaign often seemed timid and unprepared. Palin later said during an interview with Oprah that the campaign failed to defend her against media attacks, specifically the false claim she had banned books when she was mayor, and McCain's team never backed her up.
As for the political pot shots that I've taken, and there's been so many lies, so many innuendos and rumors about my family, my record, many things that we could have cleared up, the campaign could have cleared up. Remember there was the rumor that as mayor I banned books.
Yes.
And
you know I heard that one.
I know. And I'm telling the campaign, I said, well, that's such an easy one. Do you not think my city, Wasilla, would have heard about this if I were the mayor and I banned books? Well, come to find out, it was a blogger from Wasilla who was making it up. And then national, I'm not going to call it mainstream anymore, fringe media picked it up and reported it as fact. And I said, that can so easily be cleared up.
Then came one of the most devastating moments of the campaign, a moment that revealed exactly who McCain was as a candidate. At a town hall in Minnesota, a voter told McCain,
I do not I can't trust Obama. I have read about him, and he's an Arab.
McCain shook his head, took the microphone, and defended his opponent.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. He's a decent family man, citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with on fundamental issues, and that's what this campaign is all about.
The mainstream media praised McCain for this as a moment of civility, but this left many GOP voters frustrated. They didn't want McCain to sing Obama's praises, they wanted him to fight. They were hungry to see Obama vetted on his radical associations, like Reverend Jeremiah Wright, former terrorist Bill Ayers, and the Acorn voter fraud scandals. But McCain refused. His campaign explicitly barred any mention of Reverend Wright. McCain said bringing up Obama's controversial pastor would be wrong. His own strategists begged him to go harder, but he wouldn't budge. It felt like McCain was pulling punches and giving Obama a pass. This fed a sense that McCain didn't have the killer instinct to fight for GOP values. The financial crisis in fall 2008 was the final straw of the campaign. As Wall Street tottered, McCain suspended his campaign to return to Washington. He and the DC establishment pushed a $700 billion bank bailout known as TARP. The bailout was deeply unpopular with conservative voters. McCain implored House Republicans to support it anyway, but they ignored him and voted no by a 2-to-1 margin. In the end, though, it passed without them, and McCain voted yes. To the emerging conservative Tea Party movement, the Wall Street bailout was a betrayal of free market principles. McCain's support for it confirmed there were suspicions about him. He was an establishment man who would always side with big government and big banks over the taxpayers. Even McCain later tried to distance himself, claiming he'd been misled about the bailout, but the damage was done. Barack Hussein Obama won the election, McCain lost, and grassroots Republicans were already looking for new leaders to carry the torch. After getting whooped by Obama in the election, John McCain did not pivot right or try to win over the conservative base. In fact, he doubled down on the same establishment positions that had alienated so many Republican voters. The Tea Party wave was cresting, and McCain found himself on the opposite side of it. McCain and his good friend, known snake Lindsey Graham, played the role of Republican dealmakers in Washington, cutting the kinds of deals the base despised. McCain sniped at the new generation of conservatives who came to Congress in 2010. He seemed to reserve more anger for the Tea Party than for Democrats. In 2011, during a budget showdown, McCain declared Tea Party members as hobbits, reading from a Wall Street Journal editorial on the Senate floor.
The idea seems to be that if the House GOP refuses to raise the debt ceiling, a default crisis or gradual government shutdown will ensue, and the public will turn en masse against Barack Obama. Republican House that failed to raise the debt ceiling would somehow escape all the blame. Then Democrats would have no choice but to pass a balanced budget amendment and reform entitlements, and the Tea Party hobbits could return to Middle Earth having defeated Mordor.
He later said he was not sorry about that insult. McCain continued to side with Democrats on high-profile issues. He voted for big spending deals that conservatives opposed. His lifetime rating from the conservative Heritage Action Group was a mere 60%, a failing grade in the eyes of the base. In early 2013, McCain helped President Obama pass a tax and spend fiscal cliff compromise. He backed the No Budget, No Pay Act, a gimmick that did nothing to rein in spending. Time and again, when conservatives drew a line in the sand, McCain crossed it to make deals with Democrats. It's no wonder that by 2014, Republicans in his home state would publicly disavow him. In January 2014, the Arizona Republican Party officially censured John McCain. In an extraordinary rebuke of their senior senator, Arizona GOP leaders slammed McCain for his liberal record. They wrote that McCain had campaigned as a conservative but then betrayed the voters by working with Democrats on key issues, specifically mentioning immigration reform and funding for Obamacare. His record, they said, was disastrous and harmful to both the state and nation. Think about that, a sitting 5-term Republican senator, the party's most recent presidential nominee, being censured by his own state party as essentially a traitor to Republican values. McCain brushed it off, but the point was made. The base didn't want what John McCain was selling. And instead of changing course, McCain doubled down on the issue that angered the GOP base the most: amnesty. He became a leader of the Senate's Gang of Eight, pushing yet another mass amnesty-style bill. It sailed through the Senate, but conservatives rose up and killed it in the House. On foreign policy, McCain's instincts also put him increasingly at odds with a war-wary base. He was one of Washington's leading war hawks. Over the years, McCain never met a war he didn't support. Afghanistan, Iraq, you name it. He was an ardent supporter of the Iraq surge, but he went beyond that. McCain agitated for U.S. military intervention in Libya in 2011, urging Obama to take action to topple Gaddafi. After Libya fell into chaos, McCain visited and praised the rebels, even as some of those heroes, as he called them, committed atrocities. McCain also demanded action in Syria, calling for airstrikes and arms for rebel fighters. In 2013, he even snuck into Syria to meet with rebel leaders, some of whom turned out to be very shady characters, to put it mildly. McCain didn't seem to care. As long as someone was fighting an enemy of America, he would arm them, no matter who they were. He also had a habit of making off-the-cuff remarks that reinforced his war hawk image. On the 2007 campaign trail, someone asked him about bombing Iran, and McCain broke into song, literally singing, "Bomb, bomb, 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 Iran."
I guess my question is, how many times do we have to prove that these people are blowing up people now? Never mind if they get a nuclear weapon. When do we send them an airmail message to Tehran? That old Beach Boys song, Bomb Iran? Bomb, 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 bomb. Hey, man.
When critics called the joke insensitive, McCain sneered. Insensitive to what? The Iranians? Lighten up and get a life. To establishment neoconservatives, McCain's gung-ho attitude was great. One profile even called McCain the real neocon in the Republican Party, saying he, more than George W. Bush, embodied the hawkish interventionalist ideology. Many defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon loved McCain. In 2018, Congress even named a record-breaking $717 billion defense spending bill in his honor. All of these long simmering tensions exploded when Donald Trump entered the political arena. Trump's insurgent populist candidacy in 2015 was practically designed to inflame everything that John McCain and the GOP establishment had stood for. The two men clashed almost immediately, and it got personal fast. In July 2015, candidate Trump held a huge rally in Phoenix, Arizona, drawing thousands of passionate supporters. And McCain was not happy about this. He disparaged the people at Trump's rally as crazy. Trump fired up the crazies, McCain told a reporter from The New Yorker. That insult lit the fuse. Trump fired back days later at an Iowa forum. He mocked McCain for calling patriotic Americans crazy.
Let's take John McCain. I'm in Phoenix. We have a meeting that is going to have 500 people at the Biltmore Hotel. We get a call from the hotel. It's turmoil. Thousands and thousands of people are showing up. 3-4 days before, they're pitching tents on the hotel grass. The hotel says, we can't handle it. It's going to destroy the hotel. We move it to the convention center. We have 15,000 people. A beautiful day with incredible people that were wonderful, great Americans, I will tell you. John McCain goes, oh boy, Trump makes my life difficult. He had 15,000 crazies show up. Crazies. He called them all crazy. I said, they weren't crazy. They were great Americans.
Trump then delivered the infamous line that would cement the feud for good.
Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You can have, and I believe perhaps he's a war hero, but right now he said some very bad things about a lot of people.
The media went into full meltdown over this, but among many voters, especially the anti-establishment base, there was no outrage. In fact, Trump's blunt dismissal of McCain struck a chord with those who had long felt McCain was overrated and out of touch. Some of Trump's primary rivals rushed to defend McCain's honor, but tellingly, some did not. Ted Cruz pointedly refused to denounce Trump's comments, and Ben Carson shrugged that it depends on your definition of a war hero. A new era was dawning. The Republican base was no longer willing to treat John McCain as untouchable. The McCain myth had been punctured. Despite the nasty war of words, McCain initially said he would support the GOP nominee, but behind the scenes he kept his distance. He even skipped the Republican National Convention in July 2016 rather than be there when Trump was nominated. In private, McCain fretted that Trump was ruining the GOP's image with Hispanic voters. On a donor call, McCain warned that Trump's behavior could damage Republicans for years to come with the Latino community. This leaked out, further angering the base who were tired of GOP politicians worrying about media narratives instead of fighting Democrats. McCain himself was up for re-election to the Senate in 2016. Sensing the political winds, Trump grudgingly endorsed McCain in that Senate race. The two made a temporary peace of convenience.
I hold in the highest esteem Senator John McCain for his service to our country in uniform and in public office, and I fully support and endorse his re-election. Very important. We'll work together.
And McCain won that Senate primary. But when the Access Hollywood tape emerged in October 2016, revealing Trump making lewd comments a decade earlier, McCain saw his chance to break free. He dramatically withdrew his support for Trump just weeks before the election. McCain declared that Trump's behavior makes it impossible to continue to offer even conditional support. Donald Trump took office in January 2017, and John McCain returned to the Senate, now as the #1 Republican thorn in the new president's side. McCain spared few opportunities to attack Trump's agenda and even his legitimacy. In May 2017, McCain eagerly jumped on the media narrative about Trump and Russia. He compared the unfolding Russia investigation to Watergate, suggesting Trump might be at the center of a historic scandal. At every turn, McCain fed the press stories that Trump was dangerous. In an October 2017 speech, McCain blasted Trump's worldview without naming him, condemning the president's half-baked, spurious nationalism. This was McCain basically calling Trump's America First movement a bunch of nonsense. A few days later, McCain took another thinly veiled shot at Trump, this time mocking Trump's draft deferments during Vietnam.
One aspect of the conflict, by the way, that I will never, ever countenance is that we drafted the lowest income level of America, and the highest income level found a doctor that would say that they had a bone spur.
McCain was relishing his role as the Republican counterpoint to the president. Meanwhile, McCain also did tangible damage to Trump's agenda. The highlight, or lowlight, was healthcare. Republicans had promised for 7 years to repeal and replace Obamacare, and now they finally had a president ready to sign it. In July 2017, a repeal bill squeaked through the House. The Senate's version came down to the wire, with McCain as a critical vote. This was the moment we saw in the opening. In the early hours of July 28th, McCain shocked everyone by voting no, giving that theatrical thumbs down that killed the repeal bill. He had campaigned for years on repealing Obamacare, and then, when it really mattered, he sided with Democrats to save it. President Trump was incensed, tweeting that McCain let Arizona down, and pointing out that McCain ran for re-election on repealing Obamacare only to betray it. At rallies, Trump would repeatedly imitate McCain's dramatic thumbs down gesture, calling it disgraceful. McCain's betrayal on Obamacare repeal became perhaps the single biggest reason Trump supporters openly despised him. The base felt McCain had stuck it to them one last time on his way out the door. McCain didn't stop there. He opposed several of Trump's appointees in 2017, joining Democrats to block or slow the confirmation of solid conservatives. For example, he voted against Trump's budget director pick, Mick Mulvaney, and Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer, and held up a key Justice Department nomination because of old disputes over CIA interrogation memos. He even opposed President represent Trump's efforts to get tough on immigration. When Trump moved to end Obama's DACA program, McCain blasted it as the wrong approach. McCain instead introduced a bill that would give Dreamer citizenship with zero funding for Trump's border wall. RINO John McCain did everything he could to keep Obama's legacy intact. In late 2017, McCain was diagnosed with brain cancer. His appearances in Washington grew rarer. By the next summer, August 2018, John McCain succumbed to his illness. But even his death became a political flashpoint in the age of Trump. McCain, ever the grudge holder, made sure to snub Trump in his final wishes. He planned his own funeral services to exclude the sitting president of the United States. Instead, McCain invited two former presidents, Barack Obama and George W. Bush, to deliver eulogies. It was an unmistakable message. At the memorial ceremony, McCain's daughter Meghan took a thinly veiled shot at Trump's slogan.
The America of John McCain is generous and welcoming and bold. She is resourceful and confident and secure. She meets her responsibilities. She speaks quietly because she is strong. America does not boast because she has no need to. The America of John McCain has no need to be made great again because America was always great.
The entire service often felt like a bipartisan establishment reunion, and a chance to implicitly bash Trump's brand of politics. Months after the funeral in March 2019, Trump brought up McCain again, pointing to the Obamacare vote and McCain's role in spreading the Steele dossier.
I was never a fan of John McCain, and I never will be.
I guess it's unusual for a sitting president to speak that bluntly about a senator who had passed away, but that's just how deep their feud went. One of the most explosive revelations after McCain's death involved that Steele dossier, the collection of salacious, unverified allegations against Trump compiled by a former British spy. It turned out McCain was directly involved in spreading the dossier. After Trump won the 2016 election, McCain personally obtained the Steele dossier and gave it to FBI Director James Comey. One of McCain's associates even shopped it to the media. According to court testimony, McCain's ally shared copies with BuzzFeed, The Washington Post, The Wall Street Journal, and others, deliberately helping inject the Russian collusion narrative into the mainstream. In the eyes of MAGA, that Steele dossier saga solidified McCain's image as disloyal, willing to sabotage his own party's incoming president by trafficking in Democrat-funded smears. The McCain vs. Trump feud even extended to their families and beyond. In 2020, McCain's widow, Cindy McCain, endorsed Democrat Joe Biden for president, actively campaigning against Trump. She cited the disproven allegations against Trump that he called fallen soldiers, losers, and suckers. The Arizona GOP responded by censuring Cindy McCain in January 2021 for supporting leftist causes. It was a remarkable bookend to John McCain's story. His own state's Republican Party censured him in 2014 for being too liberal, and then censured his wife in 2021 for backing a Democrat. All in all, John McCain spent 35 years in Washington and was hailed by the media as a unique Republican, a maverick who would buck his party. But that very reputation is what ultimately made him unpopular with the people in his party who matter most, the voters. In the end, McCain's biggest problem was not Trump. His problem was the Republican base that watched him side with Democrats, attack conservatives, and block the agenda they voted for. His military service will always be respected, at least by me, but politically the base never trusted him, and that's the legacy he left behind.